I never truly hated the sound of my own voice until the day I found a listening device beneath my mother's pillow. Sometimes I wonder if I had known what that tiny machine would set in motion, would I still have pressed play? Or would I have left it buried, letting secrets stay secrets, letting resentment ferment quietly, as it always had in our family? I am 62 now, not the eldest son, nor the youngest child, but the firstborn daughter. And for decades, I wore that label with an odd mixture of pride and exhaustion. After my father died, my mother's world changed in small, unsettling ways. Her speech dulled. She began hiding her medicine packets. Her hands shook when she thought we weren't looking. That was when the war of caregiving began. My brother, Youngsu, claimed distance. His home is far, in the southern provinces. My sister Mijung cited endless work obligations. They sent apologies with the ease of sending groceries, quick, impersonal, forgettable. From sunrise to midnight, I fed our mother with trembling hands, changed her sheets, sat beside her with tissues for her tears, or just her cough. On our family group chat, excuses bounced back and forth like a tired old ball. But in the end, it was always my name left with no reply. Responsibility became isolation, and the confines of my mother's dim bedroom, a cell of my own making. Some nights, hunched over the kitchen floor gulping cold water, I could almost listen to my own fatigue echo against the refrigerator hum. The boundaries between obligation and resentment blurred. I was the one enduring, the one sacrificing, and by some twisted logic, I convinced myself that someone, somewhere, owed me. I wanted repayment, not with money, but with acknowledgement, gratitude, maybe just a word of thank you that never arrived. It was an ordinary afternoon when my world suddenly tipped. My hand swept beneath my mother's pillow, searching for her inhaler, and stopped. My fingers felt an unfamiliar corner. I peeled back the fabric, and there it was. A device the size of my thumbnail, with a single red light blinking, steady and silent. My breath caught. I imagined every whisper, every sigh, every nurse's visit and sibling's complaint, recorded and preserved. Who had put it there? Youngsu, with his knack for gadgets? Mijung never had the hands for this sort of thing. Or was it Jung-hee, the caretaker, protecting herself from us? That night, heart-pounding, I sat at my desk gripping the tiny recorder, the weight of suspicion heavy on my chest. I plugged it into my computer. Folders, each named by date, spilled out like a cruel calendar. And inside, the sounds of my life, the scrape of my mother's cough, my own weary scolding, Jung-hee's sighs as she sorted medicine, even Youngsu's voice, low and urgent, tangled with our mother's frail, trembling tone. I didn't want to understand what I was hearing, but I couldn't help myself. Every mention of my name felt like a page being ripped from a book I thought I'd already written. Days blurred together. I grew obsessed, playing the recordings late at night. Rather than answers, they only layered new doubts on top of old wounds. Every phone notification from the family chat felt like an attack. My own patience thinned. One evening, as I helped my mother to bed, a musty smell drifted out from her old wardrobe. I pulled aside a faded blanket and found an ancient diary, the yellowed pages covered in my mother's looping script. Between faded shopping lists and memories of kimchi making with neighbors, sharper lines stood out. One page spoke of money lent to someone, another of unfairness, another still of feeling hurt by someone's thoughtlessness. Some entries circled Youngsu's name. My heart dropped. I saw favoritism everywhere, the bitter seed planted long ago. The entries felt cold, almost strategic, as if every casual family slight had been tallied against us. I couldn't take it anymore. I poured my heart out in the family chat, messaging long into the night, confessing the silent nights with mother's cries, the ache in my back, the shame at the word listening device. I demanded explanations, tossed accusations. The responses came like icy wind, sharpened with ellipses and question marks. Each message a rebuttal, not a reconciliation. In the lonely silence that followed, as the hours dragged past midnight, I felt the house settle into a deeper cold. The only comfort came from the whir of the fridge, the tiny red light still blinking in the hall. The next weekend, fate dealt its blow. Among my mother's bank documents, I saw a stream of recent withdrawals, substantial sums, withdrawn on dates that almost matched Young-Soo's visits. Anger seized me. The herbal patches on my mother's back filled the air with sharpness, mingling with my suspicions until I felt nearly dizzy. I let the puzzle pieces slot together. Young-Soo must have pressured her, manipulated her, or coaxed out the money for reasons I couldn't forgive. Our fights turned public, relentless. The chat exploded daily, each of us airing old resentments, connecting every act of caregiving to bitter questions about money and loyalty. Young-Soo sent care packages and vitamins in his absence. Mi-jung booked hospital appointments, yet to me, it felt like they were ticking off a list, not truly caring. Distrust consumed me. I even changed the locks, calling Jung-hee more frequently for updates. Even these simple conversations felt dangerously exposed, as if everyone expected me to steal or lie. Each day became an interrogation, playing the recordings again and again, I trying to dissect the tone of my voice, my sighs, as if searching for proof of my own virtues or failings. I became overwhelmed by the sense that even the walls, floors, and ceilings of my home were bearing witness, judging me. And then, the pattern, one I almost missed, the final recording on the listening device, the last page in my mother's diary, and the biggest withdrawal from her account. They all lined up, a single day, as their axis. I summoned the courage to confront Young-Soo in the only way I could. Sharp, combative messages in the family group. The backlash stung. Each reply came back longer, angrier, spiraling into a digital shouting match. In the midst of it, Jung-hee phoned with trembling urgency. Our mother was fading fast. I rushed home. My mother lay with unfocused eyes, her hands thin as paper resting on her chest. That night, in my arms, she slipped away, her breathing slowing, until even the last quiet struggle had passed. We buried her quickly, and under the cold, flat light of the funeral parlor, white chrysanthemums piled up like silent accusations on the altar. I barely remember the whispered condolences or the petty bickering that continued even here, only that, in my mind, I ticked and tallied. Time, money, pride, forgiveness. All of it felt meaningless. Even at her wake, our family group chat refused to be silent. A few angry words sparked chaos. Someone shoved the flowers, another kicked a chair. Only the awkward hush, when funeral staff intervened, brought the violence to an exhausted pause. I closed my eyes before Mother's portrait, trying to gather the splintered pieces of myself, but no one, least of all, me, could find the words to say sorry. After the burial, Jung-hee quietly gave me a sealed envelope, my name written in my mother's familiar, trembling script. Inside, I found a remote, a twin to the listening device, and a folded note. My mother had written that she herself had asked Jung-hee to buy the recorder because she missed my voice. She wanted to hear me, even during the hours I was out of sight. She wanted to know that I was near, that I was safe, that I would not vanish without a trace. And in one final, steady line, she cleared a debt I didn't know was mine. The money she had given Young-Soo wasn't his to keep, It was to pay my credit card bills, to help with my son's tuition. At her request, Young-soo had paid the bills quietly, never uttering a word, so I could hold on to my pride. In that moment, seeing the truth in her careful handwriting, I had to admit that the chaos at the funeral had started in my own hands. Every narrative, every suspicion, every ugly confrontation, I had shaped them all around fears and wounds that I never dared voice aloud. The diary was not a ledger of grievances, but a daily patchwork, with complaints sewn beside memories of Young-soo buying sweet buns after a cold outing. What I had believed to be irrefutable evidence of favoritism was no more than the fleeting sighs of a tired, grieving mother. For days after, time seemed to run backward in the empty house. I redrew the map of my own emotions. Yes, my voice on the recorder was tired and often sharp, but when I listened closely, I detected traces of gentleness, of desperate comfort offered in the dark. I returned the old diary to a box in the deepest drawer, closed my mother's wardrobe, and tried to let the scent of unresolved longing fade into the air. The group chat grew silent, not healed, just dormant. Each of us, I suspect, sat with the sediment of bitterness clouding our hearts. I hesitated. Should I expose the truth my mother left for us in her letter? Or should I let it settle quietly, hoping warm understanding might come in time? Most nights, I now sit alone in the lamplight, letting the echo of those old recordings play in my mind. The voices, so haunting in their candor, no longer interrogate me. Instead, they reach out, reminding me of all the warmth I nearly missed while locked in my own cold pride. A few times, I drafted long messages of apology for Young-soo and Mi-jung, but always deleted them, never finding the right words or the courage to finish. The memory of that funeral scene comes back to me. The shame of what I broke, the knowledge of what can never be mended. One evening, I sent a small box to Young-soo by courier. Inside, I placed the listening device, its remote, and a simple handwritten note. The facts Mother had left behind without excuses or explanations. I promised myself that the first step toward healing was to put away the fuel for misunderstanding. That night, for the first time, I left nothing but a period in our family chat. No one commented, no one reacted, but to me, that single dot felt as if I'd set down a heavy stone I'd carried for years. The next morning, I revisited my mother's final diary entry. The faded ink was still warm in its honesty. I realized I cannot fill the space she left behind, but I can honor it by learning, while I still have time, how to comfort rather than judge, to unravel resentment before it hardens, and to meet misunderstanding not with accusations, but with patience. As I closed the diary, its pages felt as light as a summer breeze on my fingertips. I promised myself to stop blaming the wind, and to become someone who doesn't need to. And so, to those listening, when the desire to protect your pride collides with the impulse to protect your loved ones, how do you find the courage to speak the truth? Or do you, like me, sometimes only learn that lesson too late?